how do you top what happened at Combo Breaker's Bloody Roar Extreme tournament last year? Dom coming back from down 0-2 in the grand finals to force a bracket reset, and then being 2 rounds away from dethroning Jeri the OG? Can you top last year? I mean, maybe, but a lot has to go right for that to happen, and this year... Leading up to the tournament, Jeri raised about $1,000 for the pot, mostly out of pocket. Oh well, that there's even a $1,000 pot for a community tournament is a lot anyway. However, less than 1 week out and about a day before tournament registration ended, something bizarre happened in the Bloody Roar, specifically Bloody Roar Extreme, community Discord. In the modding channel, someone posted a cash bounty to have Nagi and Reiji from Bloody Roar 4 modded into Extreme as additional characters. I'll spare you my own thoughts on the idea of modding characters I utterly despise from a game I utterly despise into another Bloody Roar title. Oh wait. But the idea was that this could somehow give the community a boost and get Konami's attention. Somehow. A conversation ensued about how if Konami would give a shit, or if it was even possible, or if it was really for the community, or just that one person. But at the end of it, this person, Traveler of Time, or as I call him, Traveler Oft, said, you know what? About that tournament pot. Jeri mentioned his original, more ambitious goal for the pot this year was $5,000, and Traveler responded with, and this is a direct quote, "Fuck it, I'll do it. I can send a full 4K. Consider it my gift to this community." Now, people talking big about being in tournaments, winning tournaments, or helping with tournaments, and then not living up to their word is pretty common both in the FGC and sometimes in the Bloody Roar community. But a few minutes after this post, Jeri sent a message saying, "Yo, this
nice person
actually did it." The pot suddenly jumped from $1,000 to $5,000, and Jeri went into scramble mode. He'd already put out a video advertising the tournament and the pot prize, and while he was on break at work, he got out his laptop, recut the trailer with the new prize pot number, rendered it, and posted it wherever he possibly could. Did that affect the number of people who entered the tournament? I mean, I can't tell who signed up when, but a total of 45 people signed up to play Bloody Roar Extreme. Not only was that more entrants than there were for games like Killer Instinct, the original one, Injustice Gods Among Us, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, Asuka 120 Limit Over, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and Duck Game that year, and not only was it just slightly below the numbers of games like Dead or Alive 6, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and Project Justice, it was also the most people to sign up for any of the Bloody Roar Extreme tournaments at Combo Breaker, including when it was initially featured on the main stage. As for those entrants, some past standouts like Dizzy Pink and July Saline and Zero Suit Danny couldn't be there. But returning this year would be many of the usual suspects. Jeri the OG, Dom Presses Buttons, Dacid Bro. It would also see Traveler Oft, who started hosting his own online series of small Bloody Roar Extreme tournaments called Bloody Claw, enter the fray to potentially win some of his own contribution back. He was also in, among other things, the Tekken 8 tournament. It didn't go well, and due to a massive misunderstanding, he wound up getting disqualified on the loser side of the bracket. Along with him would be returning past standouts like Dr. B, Omega Black, Abic, and back from a 1-year hiatus, Nan. Nan wasn't able to go to Combo Breaker in 2025, and she hadn't been in any tournaments since October of 2024, when she won a Bloody Roar Extreme community tournament at East Coast Throwdown, an event which included Omega Black, Nan's partner Imzadi, who finished 3rd, and Dr. B, who finished 2nd. There was reason for optimism that this would be a great event. Then I showed up.
I need you to watch over the house while I'm gone. Can you do that? Can you do that?
I don't usually mention the road trip to an event like this, but it started with weather so bad that I almost said out loud, "Please no tornadoes," but I didn't want to speak one into existence, followed by several miles of Silent Hill, and eventually swapping bad weather for even worse traffic upon reaching the outskirts of Chicago. Oh god, he found an Oriko cosplayer. He will never not mention this for the rest of his life. When I was here previously, I arrived on a Sunday and was able to park like a normal civilized human being, but on Saturday, the lot near the convention center and the lot across the street from it were full, so everyone started jumping the curb and parking on the grass. And, hey, when in Rome. As I got inside and got the lay of the land again,
What the fuck? Bro, how long were you standing there?
I found Station 351, which was where the tournament bracket would play out.
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it.
Immediate red flag, there was only one station with 4 setups for the tournament. Previous years tended to have 2 stations allotted, so running a tournament with more entrants on half the amount of stations would be no small task. Some of them also didn't have sound for some reason. A couple laptops were set up to run the game as well, including the personal laptop of one of Jeri's friends, Bara. But that took some time to happen until they could get around the table and find open outlets to supply power to them. Myself and Firefist Javo, the co-commentator for last year, would be the primary tournament organizers, while Jeri, Nan, and pretty much anyone else familiar with the Dolphin emulator the game was running on would help with setting up controller profiles for the entrants. This is the trade-off for letting people play with whatever controller they wanted, having to set up individual profiles for everybody. Not only that, if someone had another match at a different station, the profiles wouldn't transfer, they would have to redo the profile again. Said profiles were tougher than usual to set up because even though the game was running off of some small PC setups, they didn't have keyboards or mice. Instead, they had some kind of wireless controller that looked like an old BlackBerry phone and a PSP Go had their baby delivered at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And as far as I know, most of us had never even seen these things before, let alone used them, and we needed to use them to navigate menus on the PCs and set up all the controller profiles. Oh, but wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. At the start time of the tournament, with a few dozen people circled around this one station, Javo and I had to check everyone in first, to keep track of who actually showed up and who didn't. Ordinarily, we'd use a printed out bracket supplied by the event to check off people's names, but somehow, Bloody Roar Extreme's bracket wasn't printed. The best we could get was the completely blank backside of an already filled out bracket for another tournament. Having no particularly good options, a phone was passed around, and everyone in the tournament typed their names in a big-ass list. Then there was the matter of calling players to their matches. We didn't have any sort of loudspeaker to project our voices or visual cue to get people's attention, so we had to shout for specific players to go to their matches. I can get decently loud when I want to, but this was a kind of crowded event space, there were other tournaments happening at stations around us, and we also happened to be close to the community tournament broadcast stages, which were projecting game sound. I would frequently call people's names once, twice, 3 times, and get absolutely no response. Some of that was due to schedule conflicts. Saturday is the busiest day, and some people who signed up simply could not make it work. There were some entrants who were in other tournaments running at the same time, and a few of them, like for example Sven Holgersen, let me or Javo know this so we didn't disqualify them for no-showing. However, there were still times I would yell for someone to come play their match, and despite them standing less than 20 feet away, they wouldn't hear me. And because all of that wasn't enough to deal with, there was the matter of inputting match results. As we didn't have any printed brackets, everything was being handled with the mobile version of start.gg. Except I didn't have access to it. Jeri did, so he gave me his phone to input results, while I also had my phone out with a check-in list to verify who showed up and who didn't. The end result of all of this, as well as some compatibility issues or input lag issues with certain controllers, was the bracket progressing at a snail's pace. We started matches a bit after 3 p.m. local time, and the stream for the top 4 was scheduled to happen 3.5 hours later at 6:30. At about 5:30, things were progressing so slowly that it was decided to change the match rules. Instead of each set being first to 3 rounds wins, each set then became first to 2 rounds. Some players followed this, some didn't. I don't blame them for that. Communication was a problem everywhere. Even with this change to speed up the bracket, I checked the time between matches and realized we had 10 minutes before the top 4 stream was supposed to start. We had 10 minutes to finish more than 10 matches on the loser's side of the bracket. It wasn't long after this that someone from the Combo Breaker staff came over and pulled me aside to go backstage and set up for commentary. I didn't know what happened with the rest of the bracket, and I wouldn't know until after the top 4 stream started. As such, I didn't get to see Traveler Oft make it to round 4 of the losers bracket before ultimately getting eliminated by Midnight Phoenix, who was one Dacid Bro away from making it to the top 4. I also missed strong performances from the likes of Omega Black, Game Genie 222, and a couple guys I'd never seen before in DKD Abysmal and 10 Large Fries. When I got backstage, I immediately asked for water, and there was almost an entire case of water bottles right next to the commentary table. Good thing too, because after calling out matches in the bracket for 3 hours, my voice was in such rough shape that I thought I might lose it in the middle of the stream. Avatar Yaya showed up a few minutes later, but not before a commentator for the previous game walked up to me and was about to ask me a question, saw something on the floor behind me, and said, "Oh, thank God, can you get me that?" I looked to the floor at the other side of the table and saw a set of car keys. Yaya arrived, he was ready, I had my notes out and was already working on bottle of water number 2, I was ready, and the stream was not ready. The feed didn't cut away from the idle screen until almost 20 minutes after the scheduled start time, and for a good portion of that time, instead of music, the audio from the game itself was being broadcast.
Round 1, get ready, fight!
But audio was also a reason for the delay. The same laptop I mentioned before was going to be used on stage, but due to compatibility issues, which included messing up the laptop's audio to the point it needed a restart to get proper sound again, they swapped in one of the small PC setups. That also took a decent amount of time to get working as it had sound, but the display would keep breaking. We finally went live and it didn't take long before the feed switched to Jeri and Nan ready to play out their winner's side final. Unfortunately, the PC still wasn't ready. While it had the game's sound, it was only displaying an empty desktop.
I blame Busuzima.
Busuzima? Yeah, we always blame Busuzima. He always messing something up, you know.
For the record, I don't actually blame Busuzima, I blame Windows 11. This was followed by Yaya and I stalling for time for about 10 minutes straight. Between the initial delay and when the stream started, plus us just talking at the desk while tech problems were worked out, it took over half an hour for the first match to be broadcast. And as we were searching for things to talk about, and I was already in a bit of a mood from how things had been going to that point, I simply couldn't help myself.
They're like, hey, I'm going to say it now. Konami, please bring it back.
Do not get me started.
Yes. Please
You know what?
bring it
Let's
back.
get started.
Go ahead, go
so,
ahead.
let me tell you about the words, "We hear you."
Yes.
Konami, when you say things like, "We hear you" about Bloody Roar, great. But some of us have been hearing that, like some of us have been playing this since the game series was still active. The last Bloody Roar game was over 20 years ago. "We hear you" is great, but for some people, it doesn't really mean much now. Because what has happened since then? There have been a couple
Silence.
of ports to the PSN store that aren't really ported well because there's slowdown constantly in them. Actions speak louder than words. That's all I'm going to end on.
Listen, that's all he gonna say. I'm gonna keep it 100. Hey man, you brought whatchamacallit back. Can we please get a new game, ports, remasters with rollback? That would be lovely.
Yeah,
That is all.
Konami, you had other people working with your IPs before. If only there was a developer out there that was familiar with Bloody Roar, and you would be able to bring them back into the fold. I just don't know, though.
No, that's all. We're asking politely. That's all. You know, we just want our games to be back.
A polite suggestion.
Yes.
respectfully.
Yes, but right now I do.
Onegaishimasu.
You know what's funny? It's even crazy to me because when it comes to Konami, they've been doing so well, in my honest opinion. They've been bringing like a lot of IPs like Silent Hill and a lot of other games back, especially a lot of really good ports and newer games too. And
I'm looking forward to the Castlevania thing that they.
Yes, Castlevania as well. And I think Konami, the missing piece in y'all puzzle is your game, your multiplayer game, and we know Bloody Roar is for life. So.
When everything was finally fixed and the first match started, there was another problem. Nobody balanced the stream audio. The stream was in stereo, the game audio was set all the way to the left, and the commentary was set all the way to the right, with the game being much louder than the commentary. I was able to rip the VOD and fix this in post, so I'm going to play my fixed version of the audio that I'll be using the rest of the video, and then let you hear what it sounded like live on Twitch.
Off the wall! Okay. We just started. Relax.
Yeah, this is set 1 of match 1.
The replay didn't even believe you. Saw that? It was like, hold on. You make it hurt really bad.
Yeah, and if you land something as a counter hit, it can cause your opponent to stumble and leave them wide open for more attacks.
Right here.
The Twitch chat mentioned this multiple times, but the problem persisted through the entire broadcast. The top 4 started with a familiar matchup, Jeri as Uriko and Nan as Yugo. They traded rounds at first, but in round 4, despite Nan evading the first part of a beast drive, she couldn't avoid the very awkward-looking second half of it, dropping Nan's health below Jeri's as time expired and giving the set to him. In the next set, Nan had trouble landing significant shots on Jeri as he took a commanding 2-round lead. Nan would claw one back as time ran out, but Jeri closed out the set pretty handily. In a more back-and-forth third set, Jeri would take the match with a narrow win on health as time expired. The next match, well, Yaya and I didn't know what it was, but we had to wait another 13 minutes to see it because the PC on stage was malfunctioning, as the tech crew phrased it. The delays were so bad at one point, the guy running the stream got on the mic and apologized over the broadcast.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Static Alpha from Team Net Battles, working on IFC Yipes' stream. Currently, we are having some hardware malfunction issues, so we're working through those. But as soon as we get those done, we will be right back up with your scheduled programming for Bloody Roar Extreme. Just wanted to check in, let everybody know what was going on. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Are you hearing the voices too?
Yes. We heard a lot of noises. I don't know what's going on.
By the time the stream was over, almost 40% of the video was just me and Yaya talking. When it was finally time for the next match, it wasn't what I expected to see. The bracket, in fact, was not finished. So we saw a loser's bracket round 6 match between MGD Aerodynamic, whose name I've mispronounced for years, it's Mega Aerodynamic. The GD is pronounced like EG, like we're reverting back to Old English or something, and Dr. B. These two have come close to cracking the top 4 multiple times, so even if it was under bizarre circumstances, I was kinda glad to see both of them play on stage. And wait, why is this listed as a top 64 losers match? Dr. B was making heavy use of command move cancels. It looks goofy, but it also made it tough for Aerodynamic to predict when he could close the distance or go for any attacks of his own. Dr. B was also being very patient and punishing guarded attacks with his throws. And since Long's standard throws create a lot of distance, he could keep doing his move cancel strategy. This is how he won the first set, and it seemed like Dr. B would close out the second and deciding set too. But Aerodynamic kept within arm's reach as much as possible from then on, and he fought back from a 2-1 deficit to take the second set. For the third set, Dr. B looked absolutely dominant in the first 2 rounds, nearly getting a perfect in round 2. But despite Dr. B being in beast form and Aerodynamic being in human form with a completely drained beast gauge, Aerodynamic managed to punish Dr. B with a pair of kick strings, work his beast gauge all the way up, use the transformation's iframes to avoid a hit, and juggle Dr. B against a wall. Fourth round, Dr. B gets some pressure early, but Aerodynamic anticipated and evaded the quarter circle forward punch and punished it. He missed a beast drive shortly thereafter, but despite Dr. B working his health down to about 15%, Aerodynamic punished him with another kick string, knocked Dr. B out of beast form, got his own beast transformation back, and landed the beast drive on a second attempt to force a deciding 5th round. After a quick back and forth, Aerodynamic punished a lunge by Dr. B with another beast drive. With both players out of beast form, Dr. B fought back with a few short strings, but in trying to go to Hyper Beast for the iframes, Aerodynamic followed up with some extra pressure and secured the comeback. It was a fun match, and one that Mega Aerodynamic would have to immediately forget about because he needed to fight Dom Press's buttons right after this. Or as he called himself for this tournament, Ramadom. I see what you did there. Dom went for Gato to create a pure power versus pure speed matchup against Aerodynamic's Bakuryu. And man, he showed no mercy. Aerodynamic was trying to make use of Bakuryu's teleports and flips to get behind Dom, and even landed a beast drive at one point. But Dom had enough of his offense scouted already and didn't concede a single round. In just over 4 minutes, Dom won and secured his top 4 spot. Dom then immediately had to face Dacid Bro in the losers semifinal, and he broke out the character he'd arguably put the most work into. Long. Dacid Bro did look like he'd put time into his Yugo, and while the record will show that Dom beat him 2-0, a number of the early rounds were pretty close, with Dom taking 2 of them thanks to a last-second Hyper Beast transformation and having the health advantage as time expired. So again, Dacid Bro takes 4th place. And Phil of course wasn't there, so there was no body pillow prize this year. That was quickly followed by being told to end the stream.
You back.
We're rapping.
We're rapping? Oh, okay. That being said, listen y'all, we are at the end of what's happening right now, and we're about to go into the end of Bloody Roar. So it's Avatar Yaya,
SCXCR.
TCR, and thank y'all for watching some Bloody Roar. Appreciate you guys.
We're gonna take a quick pause for the cause. We'll come back.
The stream got cut off before the final 2 matches could be played due to time constraints. There was another top 4 stream for another game right after our allotted time. Some of you might remember my recap of Combo Breaker 2024, in which a massive delay happened at the start of the top 4, but they still showed every match. And you may wonder why they couldn't do that here. Well, the 2024 tournament took place Sunday afternoon, a time when almost all of the community tournaments were either finished already or wrapping up. There was nothing after Bloody Roar Extreme then, so it could be played to the finish regardless of the delays, unlike this time. Playing in the middle of the day on Saturday means having to work with the time crunch of finishing before the next game and dealing with the possibility that if things run too long, the final matches will happen off-stream. Nobody was happy about this. Not the remaining players, not Yaya, not the spectators. People who missed the tournament and tried watching it later couldn't because, for some reason, the VOD was made private. By the way, when the VOD did go public a few days after the event, the chapters didn't list Bloody Roar Extreme because nobody labeled it properly. So it's just awkwardly lumped into the Dead or Alive 6 section with no indication it's there. And I certainly wasn't happy either. Partially because I hadn't eaten anything since 6 AM and thought, it's okay, I'll grab something to eat after the tournament is over. Little did I know. We went back to station 351 to set up the laptop from before and finish the tournament. A Bluetooth speaker was hooked up to it so there would be sound, but there was too much interference in the area and it wasn't working. There was another speaker we could use, but this one wouldn't work properly without an auxiliary cable, which none of us had. Traveler off-canvassed the community tournament room and did find someone with an aux cable that we could borrow, but then none of it mattered. One of the spectators who followed everyone to the station suddenly collapsed. I'll bury the lead a bit and tell you this person did end up being fine. They had passed out. Still, taking no chances, medical personnel arrived to take care of them and make sure they weren't injured when they fell, or there wasn't something more serious underlying all of this. It was a strange time to be present. I, like a number of other people nearby, just didn't know what else to do after all of this had been cleared up besides stand around. The top 3 of the tournament, and thus the splits for the $5,000 pot, still needed to be decided, but as I glanced around, there were some people, including myself and at least one player, who had that look. The look that says, how am I supposed to care about Bloody Roar Extreme after that? Jeri, likewise, was also in a terrible mood, but he had something that other people didn't. An emotional support cosplayer. The Oriko cosplayer from earlier, Skyward Key, showed up and acted as more or less a morale boost for Jeri and some of the other people nearby. Also, a few pictures got posted of Jeri, Skyward Key, and Bara sitting on the floor, and because Jeri likes to not explain shit until way after the fact, some people online thought he'd lost. This tournament, which began at about 3 p.m., didn't start the losers final until a little before 11 p.m. To make sure there was a record of it, 4 things happened. 1. OBS was opened on the laptop to make local recordings of the matches. 2. Jeri's friend Cirrusfire was standing by and recording the match with his phone. 3. Traveler Oft joined the Bloody Roar Discord's voice chat on his phone and broadcasted what was happening to whoever jumped in the channel. And 4. I switched my Twitch streaming title to Bloody Roar Extreme at Combo Breaker Finals Bad Wi-Fi Edition, flipped my phone camera around, and streamed a spectator shot of the last 2 matches, holding up my fingers in between sets to show what the score was. I didn't even tell anyone I was doing this, but apparently word got out, and people joined the stream to see a laptop screen from 8 feet away that sometimes got too bright or too dark and made it impossible to tell what was going on. By the way, Jeri put together a video with an edited version of the Combo Breaker broadcast and the local recordings of the last 2 matches. Yaya and Shade commentated the end of it because, well, I'll explain that later. Dom versus Nan. Losers final. Could Dom finally beat Nan in tournament play? He already faced her in the winner's bracket and narrowly lost 2-1. So he had to try something. Anything to get past her. Dom started with Bakuryu against Nan's Yugo, and I'll be brutally honest, it didn't work at all. Not at all. None of the rounds were close. 1-0 Nan. Dom would switch to Long for the second set, a character he'd made a conscious effort to improve with. Nan did take the first round, but Dom was clearly finding more options offensively with the Tiger, particularly his low crouch rising kick, as he responded with a round 2 win. And a round 3 win. Round 4 saw him nearly close out the set, but Nan used a timely Hyper Beast switch to avoid his attack and close the gap on health. It seemed like she would pull off the comeback, only for Dom to hit a well-timed shoulder block and take the second set. Nan stuck with Yugo, and for the third set, Dom continued asserting himself with Long, putting up 2 quick knockouts. Nan started applying more throw punishes to take round 3, but Dom managed his beast gauge well, put in some well-timed evades for Yugo's stance punches, and won the third set. Set 4. Nan clearly thought about switching characters, but wound up sticking with Yugo. Round 1 sees Nan play aggressive out the gate, but it ultimately goes to Dom. Barely, as time expires. Round 2 goes to Nan after a long series of never-ending pressure. The same strategy, as well as a nice air juggle against the wall, saw her take round 3. Round 4 saw more of the same, though at one point, a well-timed beast change by Dom nearly sent Nan flying out of the ring and the tournament. One air recovery later, though, she waited for her opening, took advantage, and the sets were tied at 2 apiece. Final set. No hesitation, Dom sticks with Long. The first round, after a deluge of evades and blocks and counter hits and recoveries, goes to Nan as time expires. Round 2 also goes the distance, with Nan using Yugo's pressure to bleed clock and keep the health advantage. Round 3 sees a couple walls break on the stage, which immediately leads to both of them tiptoeing their way back to the middle of the space. More walls break before Dom poke checks his way to a round 3 knockout. Round 5 saw Nan nearly push Dom out of the ring almost immediately, but he recovered and put Nan in a corner with both walls missing. But then...
Yeah, and see how the map is destroyed? Oh, that just happened!
And Nan takes it. Yo, GG's to both of these top-notch competitors. They played their heart out. Shout out to Dom.
Nan defeats Dom with a well-timed overhead leap into a reverse dropkick. The narrative is reinforced. Or should I say, the narrative.
Oh god, that's terrible.
Both of them were absolutely spent after that roughly 16-minute long match. And Nan still had to fight Jeri in the grand finals. Nan versus Jeri. Again. With Skyward Key sitting next to Jeri the whole time. Okay, this seems just a little unfair, don't you think? Jeri went with Rico, and Nan went with the cerebral pick.
I do a monthly. I've had 2 already. How are you? On the Discord. This economy.
For context, Jeri absolutely hates Koryu. Even so, his fights with Nan, while entertaining, have never been especially close. Last time they met, Nan got a token set while already down 2-0 before Jeri closed out the match. And here Nan did land some nice early combos using Koryu's aerial assassin type moves, but Jeri would ring out Nan, follow that up with a clean finish to round 4, and finally... losing. Nan has a 1-0 lead. Does this mean... Nope, never mind, Jeri still won. Afterward, he was thankful, obviously, but the highlight of his monologue happened when he turned to Dom. My stream audio was pretty crappy, but in this moment, it was absolutely perfect for what was about to happen.
Hey, you getting paid. Hey, you getting paid, boy.
Because we couldn't use the stage anymore, it was decided to have a makeshift medal ceremony of sorts by one of the big-ass combo breaker banners usually used for group photos. And Jeri said that I, the guy who was close to losing his voice, should be the one to announce the winners.
Jeri!
This whole event felt like the video game tournament version of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Big plans undermined by one setback after another, people losing their minds trying to keep it together, Plan B not working, Plan C not working, and in the middle of it all is a guy trying to make sure we have the happiest Bloody Roar Extreme tournament since Kenji Fukuya tap danced with Caramel fucking Mama. At the same time though, the scene at the end where the family is singing and dancing with the SWAT team that just raided the house, well, that didn't really happen here. Although we did come back the next day and just vibe. It was then that I noticed the artists in the community tournament room, one of which went by the name Takun. The name sounded familiar and I realized, wait, that's the guy who did the cover art for the Bloody Roar fanzine last year. And he had it for sale as a print. And thanks to me, Jeri, and apparently a bunch of other people, he sold out of that print. I drove home, unloaded the car, and immediately collapsed on the bed with the worst headache I could remember and a burning throat that turned into a near-constant cough. Even as I'm narrating this, I'm still not 100% yet. So he had to try Dom continued asserting himself with Long, putting up 2. Nan started applying more throw punishes to take round. But there's still a lingering question after all this. What now? Jeri's already said that unless something actually happens with the Bloody Roar series, he doesn't have much reason to bring it back again next year. And after all the tech problems and disorganization this year, I can't really blame him. I have my own thoughts about whether it should come back, in what form, maybe a different entry in the series, if only to make the tech side easier. But for now at least, the door is almost entirely closed on the prospect of this coming back next year. And hey, if it ultimately doesn't come back, Don't be sad it's over. Be glad it happened in the first place.